Why do they ship Dexter and Blossom together? And that I'm surprised this ship is actually still alive. Usually ships don't last that long, usually maybe a year or two and just disappear when the show technically dies. People sort of forget and come back if they have a sort of a reboot or sort of kind of guest cameo in a show. But other than that, those type of ships don't really last long. There's some last longer for different reasons, but today we're gonna talk about Dexter and Blossom. The reason why this ship was never sank, and wondering if you're sort of not nerd savvy, wondering what shipping is basically taking a character, another character, and putting it together as a romantic sort of pairing. But some ships are very wild, like sometimes they get in two different characters who do not belong in the same universe. They sometimes have to stretch a sort of imagination how they connect them together and sort of pair them up as a romantic couple. There's a lot of them. But this one is the most interesting to me, would be Dexter and Blossom, because it's a ship it just will not sink. It's always there and permanent, but every time you think this ship dies, it keeps coming back. But why? Especially who have all three Powerpuff Girls, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, who have good potential to be shipped, but nobody really used them. Only Blossom for some reason. They have ship of their own, but Blossom is the only one who gets shipped by everyone. She is the tricycle. She has written shipped by everyone. Some weird characters like Aku, other shipping like My Hero Academia, and many more. But yet they always stands out always next to is actually Dexter or Boomer. Of course, I'm going to talk about Boomer a little bit, but mostly my conversation will be Blossom and Dexter, asking that question: why a lot of people are attracted and why this ship will never die, and why people believe that Dexter lived in the universe of the Powerpuff Girls. Of course, I will break down everything. Before I actually started, my name is Rachel. I like to talk about animation, not just animation, the reviews, first impressions, cartoon theories. Sometimes, if I have some spare time, cartoon breaking news. Of course, you like how it's going, like to help my channel, put a like, comment, and subscribe. That's the only thing you need to do. If not, that's fine. If you do, thank you, because of you, I'm getting close to my main goal of 2,000 subscribers. And yes, I'm getting close every single day because of people like you. People who like, comment, and share. Thank you. Now let's get down the breakdown of why they ship Blossom and Dexter. And something that's sort of kind of interesting, because they have about maybe 3 or 4 distinct reasons why this ship works and why it won't die. And I think one of the biggest, I have to explain who is Dexter, because Dexter is very old cartoon. He's from back in 1995, when the golden year of Cartoon Network had the chance to create an own cartoon and their own network. It was very successful, but it only lasted about 4 seasons. It sort of died out. Now, the whole story of Dexter is basically a boy genius trying to hide his attentions from his kids and everybody around him, because he's afraid his parents will take all his science stuff, because everything he does is too dangerous. This show goes to genre cartoons, specifically not just parodying the genre, it is the genre. It goes to sort of sci-fi sort of scenarios, like what if this sort of teleporter come out something horrific and he needs to stop it. But the running gag of the whole show that he's sort of the one who accidentally pushed the button to become chaos, and he's the one who has to fix it. But you also have other characters who kind of mess with the formula, like Deedee, her sister, who is very hyperactive, and she has to have it touching things, who annoys her own brother. And you also have enemies, running gags, everything. This is sort of, think of it sort of like a Looney Tunes sort of gag, but using a Roadrunner, but change it up to a Dexter little boy genius downwards. If that's not sound confusing, just give it sort of the idea. But other than that, that's basically what is the story of Dexter. Next taking the place was sort of Powerpuff Girls. The Powerpuff Girls come out back in 1998, if I'm correct, but it's something very interesting. The creator of the Powerpuff Girls of McCracken used to work in Dexter Laboratory. Because the reason why he works at Dexter Laboratory, he has a sort of kind of rule or regulation, or you could like to say tradition, of every time a animator has his own show, he like to have callbacks of the old show, what they need to do. It's almost tradition of back in the day of Hanna-Barbera, because usually all the animators who work of Hanna-Barbera has to have it to reference a cartoon from that era. Anything the Hanna-Barbera or Cartoon Network would be called back to being sort of a cameo or a Easter egg. And this is the reason why you see Dexter reappearing in the Powerpuff Girls constantly. They have so many cameos. This is the reason why people thought, well, Dexter had to be canon in the universe, right? Well, believe it or not, McCracken actually posted or talked to some people to show you, yeah, Dexter is not canon. It just sort of cameos and Easter eggs, and that's all it really is. It's nothing really that special. But not this is part of the reason why people thought that Dexter was canon, and also some people who never saw the original show or saw Dexter didn't realize Dexter wasn't even canon in the first place because of how prevalent this ship really is. They really did confuse people wondering why this is a thing if Dexter wasn't canon. But to be fair, the Cartoon Network itself also kind of helped out that sort of misunderstanding, because one of the bumpers of Cartoon Network, Cartoon Fridays, showed Dexter and Ashley Blossom together for a second, side by side. That itself kind of helped even more to understand the confusion of people of thinking this ship should be actually real, or at least easy enough to be believed. To be fair, both cartoons, Dexter Laboratory and Powerpuff Girls, have a very similar sort of style, but at the same time, same similar sort of logic, because at Dexter's Laboratory, superheroes are actually real in his universe, and sometimes Powerpuff Girls are superheroes. They have superheroes. Even that Dexter's Laboratory and the Powerpuff universe even share the same heroes of both shows. They actually cameoed the Powerpuff Girls. Even they have like a special episode of Major Glory, that sort of Captain America ripoff they made parody, reappears in the Powerpuff Girls. Even that he's not really canon in the universe, they made sort of canon. So because of this, it's really easy to help the fans to ship Dexter and Blossom that easier. Even McCracken had to clarify he is not canon, but at the same time, you kind of see why people think is canon because of Major Glory, because of the cameos, all the bumpers of Cartoon Friday, and also all the little cameo and Easter eggs he appear in the show. But on top of all this, why they ship Blossom and Dexter? And I think it's super easy if you see side to side, understand both characters. Both characters are smart. Both characters are redheads. Both characters have super confident. Both characters are legitimately nerds, and they have to sort of stick in the rules and be more mature, educated. And you can see why this simple sort of factors make sense to ship them together. On top of all this, they are the same sort of age, and it just everything's sort of aligned to make it super easy to ship. And I think this is to go-to ship for everyone else next to Ashley Boomer. Of course, Boomer is sort of easy to explain why he shipped for Blossom, but usually it's Dexter then Boomer. But the reason why they ship Boomer is because it's the same universe as the Powerpuff Girls. In fact, the whole reason why they create Boomer, it has a counterpart of Blossom that sort of equals talent, strength, and methods. But this is sort of reason why they ship him with her, but that was second best ship next to Dexter and Blossom, because Dexter and Blossom sort of just makes sense, not even trying and not to ruin the canon in the same universe. But even that, Dexter actually has a huge ego, so huge that there's more chance there could be more troubling sort of ship, but at the same time you can actually understand why they ship. Of course, there is another reason they sort of kind of clarify in the geek culture why Blossom and Dexter are shipped. It doesn't matter what age, what universe, they must actually ship. It's because in a comic book called Powerpuff Girls D or Powerpuff Girls Doujinshi. Now, the person who created this Doujinshi called Bloodman. Now, that name sounds familiar because this person also created not one but two very influential comics in the cartoon and also comic community. That will be Grim Tales. And if that sounds familiar, it's sort of an inspiration of the original show called The Adventures of Billy and Maddie. But they took those two characters and twisted what if the Grim marry Mandy and have kids and have their own strange adventures. And that's basically, if you read that comic, you should heard of Powerpuff Girls Doujinshi. Now, some of you are wondering, what is Doujinshi? Doujinshi itself is sort of you want to say sort of a kind of shipping comic or AU or FANU type of comic, but Doujinshi is usually focused on the shipping aspect. What if aspect, two different characters shipping together, but using a different universe. And that's usually what he means. It's sort of a friendly way to say, hey, you like these two characters? If you've seen the front of the page, that's the same two characters shipping of the whole series. That's basically what he's trying to say. Now, other than that, how was Powerpuff Girls D or Powerpuff Girls Doujinshi? It was good, but not amazing. It's one of those comics that you easily, when you read the first couple of chapters, you easily go into it. Because it's just so what people wanted back in 2004, 2005 sort of era. That sort of crossover of old Cartoon Network characters, but done in sort of an anime sort of style that actually grabbed your attention. It also tried to deliver every single character. But I have to admit, the main focus of this Doujinshi Powerpuff Girls D is actually Blossom and Dexter, their relationship. Everything you read or write or see in the fandom, specifically of Blossom and Dexter, come from this Doujinshi. It's the one who submitted how the relationship should actually act. And you know what? It is exactly what you think. It is very interesting in the way how they executed, because the very end how both met in this Doujinshi is basically the girls moving away to a Powerpuff Girls in a new town and getting integrated in a new school, but during this time understanding who they are, explaining, saying who the Powerpuff Girls. Dexter interrupt, being cocky, saying, oh, I'm also kind of a superhero too. But the girls being sort of belittle Dexter, like, yeah, sure, this is sort of another princess sort of character. Yeah, we don't want to talk to you or anything. But Dexter kind of proves himself, saying, oh, you don't believe I'm actually this strong. All right, let's go to the playground and see what we can do here. And they actually have a sort of fight scene, but this is the point, Blossom and Dexter having sort of moments, understanding who is the other, how talented he is, how strong he is, and the rest of the sisters don't like him because he thinks he's just too cocky. But at the very end, he does deliver, but also he has a sort of secret why he kind of like this. Because at the very end, they find out of this Doujinshi that Dexter's sister, Deedee, actually died, and he attempted to resurrect her using sort of his technology, but his technology was not sufficient to fully save her. She's sort of a kind of being a like a pause moment, like sort of half dead, half alive, till Dexter figure out how to redirect her. But this is the reason why Blossom get attached to Dexter, trying to understand him, trying to convince him you have to let this go because this is kind of disturbing, but yet you get it. You want to save your sibling is something that happened in his own laboratory, and that's sort of the gimmick in the comic. It is really fun, not the best well written, but yet it's so entertaining and fun. I kind of recommend it. Just don't have high hopes. The first couple issues is really good, but the longer it gets, the worse it gets. It's like it was sort of rushing, but other than that, it's still a fun time. Now, after that, about 2016 repo of the Powerpuff Girls got the chance to do their own take of the Powerpuff Girls. Even during that time, one of the girls kind of said to Blossom, hey, do you have a crush of that little ginger kid who has glasses, sort of submitting sort of the canon of fans want to see Dexter and Blossom together. I think that sort of pushed it to actually have people wondering, hey, that actually a ship of that. And I think this is the reason why the ship reappears again. Because let's face it, everybody thought this ship died. I guess the Powerpuff Girls 2016 pushed it to actually come up front. And it also doesn't help you have several people doing ship art constantly in the last couple of years. In fact, I found one by accident, not even looking for it. I was sort of be recommending about this sort of short about this critter called AI Tommy that she just exclusively shipped Dexter and Blossom, but not just her, not just that couple. You have other ships around her, but she's super famous just to making sort of TikTok videos of those ships. But you could say how the art star kind of influenced people to reunite this ship. Not just her, you have other channels dedicated to doing drawings of Dexter and Blossom. Even the same art style of the original Powerpuff Girls and Dexter, just to make it sort of submit in this sort of fan canon kind of sort of situation. All thanks to the reboot of 2016 of the Powerpuff Girls. I think this is the reason why this ship probably will never die. It's just sort of why this is a thing. That sort of curiosity when you find out why, if everything sort of makes sense, because Blossom and Dexter just sort of makes sense, not because they're just redheads, gingers, intelligence. They also have similar family members like Deedee and Bessie Bubbles have the same similar personality, that sort of bubbly personality, that you could see why the fan canon of PPGD worked so well. Also, everything just sort of makes sense. It just clicked. But other than that, hopefully I explained a lot of things why people really enjoy this ship, and the reason why it just won't die. Maybe because it sort of keep rebooting the Powerpuff Girls and people remember it. Even that Dexter is a good series, it never really rebooted it or continued on. Only if you count the last two seasons as sort of a reboot in a way. It's more was a continuation, but you get the idea. But other than that, how you felt about everything? Do you believe this is a good ship? You believe this is a decent, well enough to never die ship? Or what is your reason why you think this ship would never die? Or you think it's just overblown? Tell me your comment down below. What is your opinion? I honestly got nothing else to say. Just thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and have a wonderful day. Bye.